Hello friends, welcome to our 12th session of She and Rights live from Women Deliver Conference 2026 on trans rights in an anti-rights era. She and Rights sessions at the Women Deliver Conference 2026 are being hosted at D03 Exhibition Space in Melbourne Conference and Exhibition Centre. All sessions are hybrid, live streamed, and host online and on-site speakers and participants, including media. This session is co-hosted by Global Center for Health Diplomacy and Inclusion, SEDI, and CNS, with partners like Women Deliver Conference 2026, International Planned Parenthood Federation, IPPF, Asian Pacific Resource and Research Center for Women, ARROW, Asia Pacific Media Alliance for Health, Gender and Development Justice, APCAT Media, and Health TV Online Nepal. Due to the historic struggle for transgender rights waged by gender diverse communities over several decades, we have seen some progress in some contexts and countries. But with rising anti-rights and anti-gender pushbacks, a lot of such progress is threatened or is being rolled back. This regressive rollback of rights is so deeply disturbing and absolutely unacceptable. With 56 months left to deliver on SDG 5 on gender equality, we will fail if goals and targets exclude transgender people and other persons in all gender diversities. Without any further ado, let me invite our first opening speaker, Hua Boonyapisomparn. Hua is Program Officer for Southeast Asia and the Pacific at International Trans Fund. Hua has played a key role in shaping not only national, but also regional and global alliance networks that have impacted major change. Welcome, Hua. Over to you.
Thank you, Shobha. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hua, and my pronouns is she, hers. I'm a transgender activist. I have been in the movement for over 20 years, actually, and I'm very grateful to be here, and I feel like I have privilege to be in this space where 6,000 of feminists are gathered. So when we talk about transgender rights in Asia and in Thailand, I want to begin with acknowledge that the journey is not straight line. We have the moment where we make progress, and we have a lot of times where we are facing with backlash, and the journey does contain a lot of hopes, a lot of pain, a lot of care, a lot of collective power. So that's what I want to acknowledge. And in Thailand, many people outside of the country often see Thailand as a place where transgender people are highly visible. But actually, in Thailand, transgender people often have seen in media, in beauty spaces, tourism, entertainment, and public life, but visibility is not the same as right. Being seen is not the same as being protected. Being accepted is not the same. Being accepted in some space is not the same as having dignity in law, healthcare, education, work, and everyday life. And I just want to give examples. So I'm just going to share the good news first. Yeah. So in Thailand, as you may already know, but for someone that you don't know, Thailand just approved 145 million baht to cover gender affirming hormone and counseling for trans people. And for that progress, it's not only a single organization or single group credit, but it's the collective movement that push forward the rights to health. So the government, even though they're slowly changing, but they because we work with them, so now the government see that this is gender affirming hormone is very important. It is not cosmetics. It is not for beauty. It is not for those, for someone to be looking for better looking, but it's necessary. It's important to their health. So this happened in 2025. So the Thai government just approved that budget. Anyways, there are so many things that happen after that. Even though the budget is approved, but we still have to follow with them in terms of when this implementation going to be in place. So at least the benefit is entitled to all transgender people. And they estimate that 145 million is going to cover 200,000 trans people in Thailand. Another progress that I want to share with you is the Transgender Wellbeing Charter. Transgender Wellbeing Charter was launched on the 31st March this year, which is the Transgender Day of Visibilities, by collaboration of trans activists, community groups, government representative, and the National Health Commission Office. And the National Health Commission Office described it as the Thailand first National Health Charter on transgender well-being and step forward to national standard practices for gender equality and social inclusion. And for me, this charter is important because it shows what strong collaboration can look like. It brings together state and non-state actors, and it's allowed trans people to speak not only a beneficiary, but as people who can shape policy. It creates a shared language around well-being, health, safety, participation, and dignity. But even all of that progress, Thailand is one of those countries that doesn't have legal gender recognition. And for us as a transgender person, legal gender recognition is first and foremost important rights. And what that means to us, it means to promote gender equality for trans people is still a long way to go, even in Thailand, where transgender is highly visible. And what I want to say when we talk about legal gender recognition and we see on the media or even the Facebook, social media, we will see that a lot of people still don't understand. They don't understand the self-determination, which is the core principle when it comes to legal gender recognition. And I cannot even read through all the feedback or comment or posts online how much hate that people portray when trans person asking for the rights of self-determination or legal gender recognition. You will see that a lot of people have a very negative opinion and opposed to the idea that this self-determination is the basic human rights for trans people. Do you think I can stop here?
No, you please continue.
Okay, let me continue. So across Asia, as you may already know, just a few countries that have legal gender recognition. One country have different approach than the other. But recently, if you look at India, the 2026 Transgender Person Amendment has been strongly opposed by trans and queer activists. And the rights group warned that the law increased state control over trans people identity by requiring official check and approval. I'm not going to share much more than this because we have Simran who going to share about this. I hope she's going to share about this, and she comes from India. So this is just one example of what anti-trans, anti-rights movement look like in Asia. No understanding, not even funding to support this kind of work. You know, in this conference, we've been talking about funding cut. We've been talking about civic space, thinking. We've been talking about limit participation for trans people, and but actually for me to be in this space, even though we talking about all of this backlash, I hear some people talking about we need more funding, we need more participation, we need more trans inclusive policy. So that's also give me a lot of hope, just to listen to what people and allies talking about how they're going to support trans people. But anyway, I come with just a few recommendations that I want to share with you and to the people online. First, we need to fund trans-led movement, not only consult us, not only invite us to speak, and not only use our story in report. So fund trans people, trust us, give the power to people with first-hand experience. And trans people know the problems because we live in this problem. And we survive these issues, this problem, this lack of legal gender recognition for a very long time. And how we survive? We know the solution. So let us work. The second one, we need long-term and flexible funding. Rights do not change in 6-month projects. This is the long investment. It's the long-term investment. So what we need is long-term funding. We need flexible funding. And by saying flexible funding, meaning that you have to trust what we do. You have to give the money without restriction. So you trust that we're going to do our best for our own community, and that flexible funding look like. The next one is do not use us only as evidence or case example. We are not story of suffering. We are not only data. We are not only photos in donor report. We can be part of the change. We can be part of the solution to gender justice. We can design policy, we can lead research, we can build care system, we can negotiate with government, we can create new model of democracy, health, and justice. And last but not least, we need corrective care while seeking solution. And anti-rights movement do not only attack our policy, they attack our spirit. They make people exhausted. They create fear, division, and burnout. And corrective care is not separate from advocacy. It is part of our advocacy. It is how we keep people alive. It is how we keep people connected. It is how we make sure that our movement do not reproduce the same violence we are trying to fight. And I think I speak long enough, but let me end here. We talk about reimagination. I heard people talk about that. And yes, it is very challenging. It is very challenging to raise awareness among people in power who may not understand the language of oppression that trans people face. It is challenging to explain again and again why our life matter, why our document matter, why our healthcare matter, why our safety matter. But if we fail because we try, then why don't we try again? Very simple, just like that. And if we fail again, why don't we continue trying? And failure is not opposite of hope. Sometimes failure is a part of how hope is built. How resistance means standing up again after the door is closed. So my message today is simple. Do not stop doing what is right because we fail. Do not stop building because the pushback is strong. Do not stop trusting trans people to lead. Do not stop caring for each other. And this is what I want to leave I just going to stop for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And you are very right, Hua, that it's difficult to make the oppressor understand what the oppression they are putting on us. But we have to keep on fighting. And I'm sure there'll be light at the end of the tunnel. So do I believe. Now let us listen to my friend and fellow human rights activist, Simran Shaikh Bharuch from India. Simran is a noted transgender rights activist and one of those who did everything possible to try to stop a regressive anti-rights law that sadly did get passed by the parliamentarians and signed by the President of India too. Simran, please provide an update on the passage of that law that has reversed progress on the rights of transgenders. Over to you.
Hello,
Well,
Simran.
hello, Hua. Hello, Joleen. How are you all? It's so beautiful to see you all. Sorry, I have missed you all being physically present, but look at the technology that I'm at least present uh, virtually with you all. Thank you, Shobha, for posting that question. And I think to a large extent, Hua did manage to sort of, throw some light in today's conference on the India episode that we are all watching across the globe. It is very, very important time at this moment, as we all know, that such a progressive government, unfortunately, has gone regressive towards many aspects. And one of the major important talk of the town is the transgender persons' rights bill in India. Very recently, the current government has sort of gone back to its very, very fortunate progressive bill that had ensured the lives of transgender people are protected, just not in the terms of their identity, but in terms of their betterment and well-being. It's sad to see that the movement just turned the table round in just few days without even consulting the communities across this mini continent. And let us remind everyone that India is not a small country. India is not a minuscule population throughout the globe. Today, India ranks number one when we call for its population. Today, India speaks 3,000 different languages where we celebrate diversity. In spite of all that, we see this current government turning the tables just for this particular community. And why is it so? Let us also focus on why. What made the government think about this? And it's not the community or the difference of opinion between the community and the government. It is just the ideology differences that the government thinks that all the welfare measures should go to the appropriate transgender community. And according to our government, the appropriateness of the transgender people is a subset, a one part of a transgender umbrella term, and all the benefits should only go to them. Whereas they do not understand the difference, the basic difference of sex and sexuality, gender and sex. And it also rings an alarm for the community that, no matter how many awareness sessions you go and, perform, and you try to build that, cloud, a bubble where you're educating people, the basic nuances still is a big question mark in today's DNA. It's not that, we are not seeing the millennials and the Gen Zs supporting this entire movement. We have also seen a lot of oppositions throughout the government actually demanding the current government to sort of, bring down this moment of anti-transgender movement. But unfortunately, it has gone to a level where the ego has come into the picture. And when egos come into picture, I'm sorry to say, things get more difficult to change. And I call myself now a veteran, though I'm only 16 legally, but still I call myself a veteran at the age of 45, and I'm trying to struggle to understand how does one satisfy the egos of the so-called decision makers. And that's the challenging part for me at this moment. Do I need to really start from the education, building awareness of what is sex and sexuality, or do I need to go and sort of bring them the awareness that gender is not something that you're born with? And that's the dilemma that I am currently going, and I'm just speaking from my heart at this conference, that where am I supposed to start? Why am I seeing so much of hate towards this community where till yesterday there was so much of love? And who decides this hate? Just few people who have the power to sit on the table and decide the future and destiny of this community. Well, that's not power. Well, that's the misuse, the pure definition of misusing the power. Today at this conference, I really want to highlight few things that, today we are sort of struggling to push our boundaries. It's a moment for the entire queer spaces to come together and sort of address this issue. Of late, we were seeing that the entire queer space was sort of segregated, trying to solve their own purposes. But now the time has gone. It is very important for all of us to unite together and start addressing this issue, because today the transgender rights bill has gone. Tomorrow, it could be the reversal of anti homosexuality laws coming into this picture again. And if we do not act now, it's going to take us almost around 30 to 35 years back and start again. Yes, who did mention in her speech about few moments back, stating that it's okay to start again, restart yourself, restart your moment. But at the same time, we all need to also address when to restart. If we do not put our acts collectively together right now, I'm sure we are going to miss the bus. And it's going to be very, very difficult for our Gen Zs who are, coming out as proud trans individuals to sort of face this harsh criminalization on this particular community. Point number two, I also want to address that no matter how much you press this community has always found out its way to sit across the table. I'm sorry, but some people may agree and some people may not agree with my terminology. We are not activists. We are advocates to sit with the lawmakers, to sit with the people who have the power and make them understand the root cause of oppressiveness towards this community. Point number three, I really want to emphasize on the global movement that we are seeing today, that people are left, right, and center just targeting trans individual. A, because they are proud and out. B, because they are loud and strong. See, they are visible, though you try to make them invisible. No matter what happens, we are not going away from this planet. Till our last breath, we are going to be sitting across the table. You may hate me while I'm speaking, and it's completely okay. But please ensure that I am going to be sitting across the table and discussing my issues so that it gets registered and you start acting on it. I'm not going to be shouting outside the room stating that give my rights or give me the money to survive. I'm going to sit right across to you. I'm going to pay my taxes appropriately and ensure that I get my benefits equivalent to what I pay back to my society. It is so unfortunate for us at this moment to see that even we are started discussing about anti-transgender movement. And because some people have this idea that you're either born male or female or intersex, but unfortunately they miss out on the upbringing of those children who feel that they are trapped or they want to be known as something different than what they are assigned during their birth. And that philosophy, unfortunately, does not go well with them. I also see this movement going towards tilting towards the bigger religious things that people want to get in. And of course, when religion comes into discussion, many people refrain themselves to even speak about it. And they think that, the religion uh, preaching is something very important. Of course, we all agree you should follow your faith, but at the same time, understand the bigger concept of religion, which is unconditional love towards humanity. And when humanity subject comes into the picture, uh, people go mute. And this is the time where I think we all stand collectively strong and bold to face this harshness coming from people who are at power. And for that, I'm sure the entire conference today is shouting on we need fundings, we need to keep our momentum going, and which is true, which people can really see. Unfortunately, people love to shut their eyes, and that's where we need to bring such conferences to enlighten our funders, our donors, that the movement has not yet died. We are not giving up. Trans people are going nowhere, and we will strike very hard to bring our rights, our well being into the center so that humanity stays alive. It is not against any particular gender, it is against humanity when you disrespect and when you spread hate crime. And we need to shut it out completely forever. Today is the time is striking absolutely correct. And if we don't act ourselves today, I think we are going to go very, very back. And to avoid going back, thank you, Shobha, and everyone who have had the courage to bring in trans people into this beautiful conference, which is happening in Melbourne, um, and ensuring that gender is just not binaries, it is beyond binaries. And thank you for ensuring that people like stalwarts like Joleen, who are here in this conference and openly and boldly talking about it. Thank you so much. I hope I've not crossed my time, and I pass on the mic now to you, Shobha.
Thank you very much, Simran. And we are all with you in this struggle and in these difficult times. And for me, I can never imagine that any religion will teach anything other than love. but perhaps we are misusing that religion as an instrument of hatred and creating so many problems in the world. So we still need people like Simran, Joleen, and Hua and others to stand against that misuse of religion, which is happening right now. Thank you, Simran. And now I have my dear friend from the beautiful Tonga in the Pacific, Joleen Mataele, founder of Tonga Leitis Association Tonga, which is still the only transgender network in the country. Joleen has led from the front in Tonga and also regionally and globally. Welcome, Joleen. Over to you.
Thank you, Shobha, and malo lele, everybody. I'm not going to go into all these formality. I'm just going to go straight into it. Transgender women in Tonga are often referred to as whakaleiti, but we do not use the whakaleiti anymore because everything in Tonga is whakathis, whakathat, whakathis, whakathat. So it's not a swear word. It's just a formality of saying of putting together a more like a starter of a proper word. Like whakamolemole means please. Whakawhetai means thank you, right? But because of that, when we started the Tonga Leitis Association in 1992, a lot of people were asking, what is whakaleiti? And I said, well, whakaleiti was not a Tongan word at all. It was brought in by a researcher from UK and defining ladies or trans people as like a lady, right? So when we started, we took the FAKA part and just used lady to be more inclusive of trans men, as well. So we navigate a mix of traditional acceptance and modern legal religious discrimination, while historically accepted, and we face the significant legal barriers and social stigma in contemporary Tonga. In the legal status and rights decriminalization efforts, cross-dressing is technically illegal under colonial era laws that forbid male to impersonate a female for immoral purposes. However, these are generally not enforced against the Leiti community. Same-sex activity, while male same-sex activity is criminalized up to 10 years, these laws are rarely enforced, and legal advocacy to repeal them is ongoing. And so literally, I should have been in jail when I was 1 year old because I wore a dress on my first birthday. So on my baptism, I had the longest tail dress ever. So yeah, so I don't understand these, laws that has been adopted by our, country. And when it comes to anti-discrimination, Tongan law doesn't provide protections against discrimination based on gender identity in employment, housing, or public services. And when it comes to marriage and adoption, same-sex marriage and adoption are not legally recognized. However, I raised 3 kids. So I'm a grandmother of 5 now, and hopefully it's not giving me more lines nowadays. When you turn 62, Shobha, you have to deal with the waking up in the morning, and when your grandchildren are around you, it's even harder, but you just have to live with it because it's a reality of being a trans mother, a trans grandmother. And when you go out into the funniest thing is you go out to the to public, and your grandchildren kept calling you grandma, 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 and everybody's going, what are they calling? You know, and I'm standing right there, you know. There are certain times that I will just turn around and say, "What are you looking at, bitch? I'm the grandmother." Or even my children will just, refer to me as mother all the time, you know. So even at church, it's always the case. But at least with my congregation, I'm a devoted Catholic, and all my parish already know who I am with my kids, so they're used to that. Hey, so I don't get because they know if they do address anything, they know what's coming on them. Leitis, they are often integral to communal life, family support, and have historical links to assisting the royal family, discrimination and violence. Despite some acceptance, the rising influence of conservative fundamentalist religions, which is funded by US, like the 700 Club, all these evangelist fundamentalist churches that are rising at the moment are the ones that we are having problem with, right? And let alone the bullying on the cyberbullying, online. And these are Tongans who are actually who we grew up with and knowing that who they are, and then finally they go overseas, they get their money, and then they have their 2 cents to say what we're doing in Tonga. I said, no, do not do that, because you're not taxpayer in Tonga. If you want to say something, say that to Trump. Not us. Hello. And when it comes to social acceptance, while some families accept their laity members, many still face rejection, and are forced to find support within the Tonga Leitis Association safe houses. The Tonga Leitis Association is a very strong advocate of transgender rights in Tonga, organizing the annual Miss Galaxy pageant, which I'm a founder of. And this year we have changed it a bit it's now called Tri-Pageant. And we're having 3 pageants in one time. Miss Galaxy, the Miss Cardinia, which is for the girls, the real girls. And for the boys, straight boys, we call it the Mr. Gladiator. And this pageant is mixed, the whole 3 pageants. And everybody's going, how are you able to do this? And I said, oh, I don't know. Don't ask me until it's done, And the funniest thing is, we had a sort of a fear because we're trying to include everyone. Not only that, but we're trying to educate the younger generation to come in and be allies, to help us, right? And then all of a sudden you see on social media, these people are translating that into something vulgar, right? They don't even know the reason why we're doing it. It's to, and to educate these people, the young ones, to be the advocate for the rights of everybody, right? And these are some of the challenges and safety that the challenges that we go through. Sometimes safety concerns is high-profile cases, such as the murder of our late Polikalepo, who was our last former president of the Tonga Leitis Association, and also a member of our community was murdered just a year before that. Okay, and these are, things that you will never even think of that it will happen in Tonga. Of all countries. Yes, in the Melanesian countries, we hear that all the time, and I had to fly to the Solomon Islands to deal with one murder of our focal person. And I ended up being stuck in Brisbane during COVID for a whole year and a half. So, these are things that we face all the time. And of course, the influence of these religious fundamentalists is very powerful. However, some of our main, the original churches, the Catholic and the Methodist, we're fine with them. We have no problem with them. It's these fundamentalists that are coming into our shores that we have to deal with. Let alone we have to deal with everybody's mental health, right? And advocacy. So many trans individuals in Tonga face daily struggles with stigma, which has driven some to migrate to Australia, New Zealand, and to have safer lives, and plus to be themselves, to have a partner to walk with, holding hands, and nobody's saying anything to them, right? So some of these things that we're trying to do is back at home is re-educating our members. And since we started in 1992, we've been able to educate and provide, we've awarded 82 or 84 scholarships to our trans community, our LGBT, and even some of those are given to straight allies, eh? So I want to stop there and then so we can continue.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. You reminded me of two things. You talked of yourself as a grandmother. I'm a grandmother too. And I'm starting not a movement, but you can call it a movement or a campaign for development justice for older persons.
Thank you.
So I will make you part of that. That is, for me, that is very important. Also, you said you are a Roman Catholic. I have studied in a Roman Catholic convent and I have taught there also. And we had mother generals that time. This was a Loreto convent. It is an Irish-based nunnery. And they had the mother general looking after all the convents. There are many Loreto convents across the world. And when she came to our school once, a few years ago, she said that we are all different flowers in the garden of God.
Amen.
And that was coming from a Roman Catholic nun. So it's not that it's unfortunate that we have more oppressed. Yes. Any questions from you all, if you have?
But this one misconception about gender
Please pass on the microphone.
that really needs to be. And let's repeat the question. So, what is one misconception about transgender rights that most urgently needs to be challenged? So, yeah.
The misconception. Oh, okay, maybe. So I have seen recently that why we work to promote the rights of transgender person. We have used a lot of terms, even in Thailand, when they raise the news about transgender person, they use the term LGBTIQ person. And one of my fears is that when we make a group of people, when we portray a group of people as like monotype or a single groups that have same need, we don't see the deep of the context that they are facing. We don't see the deep of the need that each group experience. So as a transgender person, we have different needs in terms of gender affirming care. That's for us. Legal gender recognition, and that's for us. And when a lot of media or even like people, allies, they use the term LGBTIQ by not by I don't think they have the intention to harm trans people, but I think to use that term, it erases the need, the specific need of community. So this is one thing that I've seen recently, and that's the Thai context. Also, because we use, when we have the news about trans people, we use like that. And one of the things that actually in this conference, I have heard someone say, sometimes like corporate or people who have money or people who are in power, they don't know languages. They don't know what to say. They don't know. So sometimes to use that term is easier for them, because at first we have to draw their attention before we can, give them more information. So that's one tactic. But for me, I feel like if we want to reimagine, if we want to do better, if we want to reimagine, we have to take the right first step, right? And we're not going to fix whatever happened because we don't do things right in the beginning. But that's just my thought. Yeah.
I think that just to add on to what Hua was saying, this was something that we decided to come up with, using our own terminologies, right? Because like if I go back into history, before Christianity came to our shores, we had our own knowledge of who we are, and the word that I was used to is farafine, or farafefine. And but HIV, when AIDS came to Tonga in 1987, with the first AIDS person who was a trans member of our community that was brought by their family from the US to die in Tonga, the word Leitis then became a derogatory word, right? And that labeled us in a very bad way. And that's the reason why we took the FAKA part, and then when we came together, I think this was in Wellington, for the Ilga Oceania Games, right? And we decided at the conference, at the Human Rights Conference, that we need to adopt our own terms, right? And use that, because LGBT rights, LGBTIQ terms, we never use that at home until we write proposals and deal with donors. Then we use those terms, right? And we came up with the MVP FEF, which is Mahu Varasalewelewa Palopa Fafafine Akavaine Leiti and Fafafine. And that is the terms for Tahiti and Hawaii, Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Cook Island, Tonga, and Niue. Right? And these are terms that and plus, I just hate labeling. I hate labels. I wake up in the morning and I look at the mirror and I say to myself, oh my God, you're such a gorgeous woman. I mean, that's me, right? And I say that every morning, even though I look like Dracula. Oh God, no makeup, no nothing. But every single time I wake up and I go, gorgeous. But because I feel in reality, I am a woman. The only thing that's 1% of me is a male is something that everybody knows. But the whole of me, the 99% of me is all female. And my pronouns is she, her, and I identify as a woman. I don't identify as a trans woman. In my reality of life, I am a woman through and through. And nobody's going to tell me what I should be, because that's exactly how I feel. With due respect to my trans women and trans men community, they should have the comfort to call themselves what they want. And that needs to be stopped from the ideology of other people's ideas and what they want us to, what they want us to be called. They have got no right at all to do that, you know? So if I come in the door and I'm saying, oh, and I'm being introduced as Miss, period, that's me. You have no right at all to turn around and say, no, she's a Mr. Honey, something's going to come back to you, because that's going to come double.
Simran want to say something?
Yes.
Good night.
Hello, Simran. Would you like to add something to that? If Simran is still there?
Yes,
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 Simran.
very much. I think
Yes,
Joleen, thank you for nailing it. Once a woman, always a woman, darling. I am with you. 99% I am a woman. That's it. Period. Don't look at that 1%. Thank you, Shobha.
Thank you. So I think we've talked about like the oppressors, the very far right, very anti-trans. I think there's also a group of people who maybe aren't quite educated on the trans community and the struggles you guys go through, and maybe are misled by information to head towards the right side. How do you think they can be better educated? How can society educate them better about the struggles you guys go through, what it's like being a trans person, and the difficulties you face with pressures from society?
I go first? Okay. So in my advocacy strategy, I think, so there are so many group of people, but we have only limited resources to work with one of the groups or maybe two. If we are more privileged, we can work with more people. But with the limited resources that we have in my advocacy work, I feel like I'm going to go with the neutral opinion person. Because if we go with whoever approaches us actively, they're going to take a lot of time, a lot of resources to understand us. For me, I would say for the neutral opinion people, this is the one that we should working with them to provide information, to provide languages, to provide real life experience, to share with them the experience of being a trans person. I think the neutral opinion people is someone that going to lean toward the change or lean toward becoming the supporter, becoming the allies. So I think in my advocacy, it's very important that, especially now that we're talking about funding cut, right? We don't really have a lot of resources. For me, also, in my experience, I want to tell you this story. There is one time I working with Buddhist monk, and they never met a transgender person, never talk with one. They never know that trans people exist. So this monk and participatory workshop, and we don't know each other, and I don't know him, and at that workshop we get a chance to share experience, as for me as a lay person, for him as a monk. And then after 6 months, after that workshop end, I didn't expect anything. And then after 6 months, the program called everyone to come back to have a second batch of like the workshop. And this monk come to see me. And when he see me, he come to greet me and he say like, "Thank you so much, Hua. I am now going to start a research center for LGBT people. You open my eyes." And that moment in time, I know that change is coming. But we need to have a space, neutral space, safe space, where we don't judge one another, where we don't judge because they don't know us. But this space is open the dialogues that we can get to know one another. And that's the real story I have with a few years back when I meet the monks. I'm going to see him in July. He is in Sri Lanka. And I'm going to see him in July. The last time I saw him in Sri Lanka was when he organized the workshop for young people, and he invites me to be facilitator. So this is the real change. But we just need to have a safe space to open the dialogue without judgment. And that's the key to acceptance. I'm going to end here and have other people to share.
And that's the reason why we need ITF to be in Tahiti, to bring our trans to be heard over there. You know,
Loud and clear.
thank you. Similarity of the stories is our life experiences, right? And I think I can only talk about the work that we do. Part of the work, of course, we have a referral pathway that was already launched by the Tonga Leitis Association specifically for LGBTIQ, right? Because when we used to use the referral path, the government or the national referral pathway, our cases don't get to the court at all, right? So we had to create our own, and we finally have launched it on GBV, hey? But one of the cases that I had to deal with was a straight boy who went to our boys' school just because he had a feminine look and very not masculine, but just beautiful, hey? He was abused at that school just because of that, you know. And the mother, who is a great ally of our association, came to us, but because he was not gay, we had to refer him to the Women and Children's Crisis Center. The boy went there, but the mother returned back and asked if I could do something because he's not comfortable in talking to, you know. So the only thing that I had to do was I had to ask the mother to bring the father, because the father was actually a steward of that church school, that, you know, so he could be open up to what, you know, what happened to him. So what when the father finally came, and then he finally agreed and you know, heard the little boy's story, we had to bring his record and everything from the other school, transfer him to another school, to the Catholic school. I called the principal, who used to be my parish father, and I called him and I said, there's a child here that needs to be educated. He still wants to continue on his studies, but something happened to him, but I need proper counseling before he comes in. So being a counselor at the same time, I ended up being the counselor, because the boy never was more comfortable with me, you know. And these are the things that we had to deal with, you know. I may be going away from your question, but this is the reality, right? Of not just the LGBT that we deal with other people, and that is how we gain trust from the public, right? And that's how we get people locally to be able to work with us. So when we put that boy in that school, in the Catholic school, 4 years later, that boy became the dux of that school. He would have lost that opportunity if he had continued on, hey? But I mean, the parents are forever being grateful for what we did, but we're not to be praised. It's what we give back to our community that we are able to be, working in our, I think that's what keeps us going, even though we're getting older, Shobha. I wake up in the, it's like waking up in the morning and saying, oh God, you're 62 years old. I don't think like that. I wake up and I thought that I was 30, back to 30 again. And I'm going, oh, I'm going to work again. Not remembering that there is a limitation in our energy, right? And it links to what you were asking, because it's hard, and you're trying at the same time to teach your generation, for you to be our ally, for you to be our future speaker, to be the mother, to be the father, to be a grandpa in the years to come, that you're carrying on that legacy of being kind, loving, and be humble. Believe me, I used to be a fist fighter. When I was a kid, I used to bash up people that will turn around and say to me, poof, lady, oh, hello. I will never go without bashing that person. I used to be taken, when I went to school, when I went to the secondary school and high school, I was taken to the not the hospital, but I mean to the principal's office every single day because of that. I will never let anyone say anything rude to me. No, hell no. I would never allow that. But now I'm a lover, not a fighter anymore. Even though I'm single. But I had to turn my grandmother. I was raised by my grandmother because my mother passed away when I was 5 months old. And I was the last of 10 children. So my grandmother raised me. And that was my grandmother's words all the time. When I left school when I was 14 years old, I didn't want to go back to it because of that kind of stigma, and that. And so I had to learn the hard way to be loving, to be humble, because my grandmother's always saying, Joey, if you do not forgive yourself, if you do not learn to be humble, if you do not learn to be loving, then you won't get into any future at all. You have to forgive, learn to forgive, because forgive is better than sacrifice, right? So that became my motto in life. Even my own trans community, there are ups and downs. We have our ups and downs. They will backstab me from left, right, and center because they don't agree with what we're. But at the end of the day, they still come in. Oh, can I borrow a lipstick for tomorrow? Hello. But that's the reality of life, right? You become a mother, you become a grandmother, not just for your children, but the whole lot of the LGBT community, right? Thank you. I hope I did.
Simran, any
Yes.
closing thoughts from you?
Yes, I think I would love to answer the colleague who just asked the question, and I completely echo Joleen and Hua, what they have mentioned. Just adding to what Hua and Joleen just mentioned, I think investment on today's Gen Z is the appropriate step of ensuring that we reduce the stigma and discrimination, the hate crimes towards queerness. I think today what we are doing is paving the path for our generations. I completely agree. We have taken the hardships, and believe me, it's not that easy. Life experience are really at times very bitter. It comes with a very much a larger hardship that we all go through. But at the same time, we have that zeal just because we are investing in today's Gen Z, in tomorrow's beautiful world that would walk smoothly without any judgment, without any hate crimes. So, yes, investment heavy on today's Gen Z. Schools are the most appropriate mediums where we can bring this awareness among the children. It's quite difficult to change the mindset of a 62-year-old person, but it's quite easy to sort of aware the youth, the adolescents of today's world. And that's where the beautiful journey without hate crime would begin. I think I would end on this very much note. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks to all our firebrand speakers today. And with Simran's closing remarks, we conclude today's session. And we will see you in our next She and Rights live session from Women Deliver Conference 2026 at 4 p.m. today, Melbourne time, featuring the She and Rights Media Awards ceremony. So please stay tuned.